Welcome to the People in Housing podcast. Today, I'm delighted to say we're joined by Russell Thompson. So firstly, Russell, introduce yourself.
Hi Dal, thank you for inviting me. I'm Russell Thompson. I'm currently chair of Direct Works, which is a membership organisation, and my day job is I'm an independent consultant. I've been doing that for about the last 18 months, 2 years. Prior to that, I worked for a number of housing associations, and then previous to that, I'm happy to talk through that in a bit more detail, but prior to that, I did 10 years as an independent consultant as well.
Brilliant. So in terms of prior to the independent consultant role, talk us through your biggest full-time employment role within social housing.
Well, I think probably if I go back to about 2015, I joined 13 Group in the Northeast.
Yeah.
They had just gone into a group structure, and that was two groups into one group structure, which was quite interesting. Thinking about the transformation, thinking about, I guess, the merging of 4 organisations into one, and all the difficulties that presents. My role there was around asset management and property, so I was responsible for all the property asset management, compliance, the DLO that were in-house, just anything generally related to property was under my remit, and I was reporting direct to the chief exec. So that was my responsibility. And I think over this 5.5 years I was there from 2015, we went through lots of changes. Things like the rent cut in 2015, we all know sort of the pressure that sort of put on housing associations and the sector, and taking significant chunks of money out of the business plan, to make things stack up basically because of the rate cut. And then of course, unfortunately, we went through 2017 with Grenfell, and obviously we had all the follow-on from that in effect, and then changes throughout. I think in terms of economy, and obviously then COVID into 2019, 2020, and it was just a period of change, constant change, to be honest with you. So I think what that did for us as an organisation, it made us a lot more resilient. We obviously worked with all our team in terms of trying to meet those different pressures, I guess, really, and trying to come out with different strategies, coping mechanisms. And I guess the biggest probably challenge of that was ensuring that the business stayed viable. Mm-hmm. We had a solid asset management plan. We were able to deliver repairs and maintenance to our properties. And obviously, as part of that, you set about trying to improve those things as well. So I think from where we set off in 2015 and to when I left the organisation, we was in a really good position. We had, I guess, full sort of oversight of what the business was doing from a property perspective. We understood our stock at a very granular level. We had a very, I would guess, a disciplined DLO. It really understood what it was about, what it was there to do, what it was to deliver, what it wasn't there to deliver. Had a really nice mixed economy with contractors and our own in-house team. And we had a team that was very motivated and understood what the job in hand was. So I think that was probably one of the biggest that I, probably not just biggest, but I think most satisfying. Okay. The transition from 2015 as to when I left, I felt like we left it in good stead, and people were able to build on that transition and improvement we've done.
And to save our audience from Googling 13 Housing Group, because we've got a broad reach of Midlands, Northwest, sure, Northeast and the Southwest. Talk us through the size of Housing Association 13 Housing Group was in terms of stock, your direct reports and your indirect reports. How big was that structure whilst you were there?
Yeah, so 13 Housing Group is predominantly based in the Northeast, so the major conurbations of Middlesbrough, Stockton and Hartlepool, but had property on the periphery of the Northeast as well. Staff-wise, probably my directorate was probably around 750, 800. And the DLO was about 350, 400 strong. So you've then got the remainder of those people of that 750 in back office, whether that's delivering investment programs, asset management, whether that's developing strategies, and then all the backroom staff in terms of the DLO. I had a grounds maintenance team. We did all the caretaking work. So stock-wise, about 35,000.
Wow, that's a lot.
So yeah, there was some good numbers there. And yeah, we developed the directorate from being predominantly asset management repairs. We picked up a facilities management. We did all the commercial property as well. We run an out of hours service, and we managed all the high rise as well from afar. So we had a brand new control room. So that was really interesting developing that as well. So quite a diverse approach to how we delivered, or what we delivered really in terms of 13, trying to predominantly keep it in-house, but where we needed to, then we had that mixed economy. We needed contractors to help us on that journey. So yeah, it felt that when we finished, we'd had a really good sort of directorate that was able to meet what the business was looking to meet, whether that's value for money, service delivery, customer satisfaction. Got a real feel about what we were trying to deliver and who we were trying to deliver it to. And of course, that comes with more and more work that you do. The more you talk to customers, stakeholders, understand how you're being perceived. So yeah, it was a feeling that we were all in it together. We were doing it with people rather than to them, and that was really important. That people had a sense of ownership of that.
I mean, that must have been quite an interesting challenge in managing 750 people, and obviously with your director. How did you try and maintain that consistent message of communication across so many people?
Yeah, it's a good question actually, because when you get into those big numbers, you've got to try and get those messages going down, and I believe the message have to come back up as well.
100%.
That's important. So the communication's got to be two-way. I think we use lots of different methods really. We're very much embedded team meetings. So and the same agenda as maybe the meeting I had with my directors would be very similar to what got pushed all the way down the organisation.
Yeah.
And almost, I guess we were asking back from, as we pushed those messages down, was asking people to feedback on those messages. Where did they feel we could improve? Are there things that we're missing? What should we be looking at? Some of that was supported by directors being able to hold an open day for their directorate. So the asset team might have an open day, so people come and have more of those granular conversations where you'll have the asset team maybe talking to somebody that's on the tools and saying, do you realise this is happening out here? Well, we thought we did, but actually maybe we need to do a bit more work on that. So those sort of one-to-one conversations happen because you're providing that forum for people to actually, get together and network really internally, which doesn't always happen in organisations.
No.
So team meetings, regular get-togethers, open sessions like that, where directorates would, in effect, show off what they do, tell the rest of the company what they're about, make a bit of fun with it. I think we had a bit of an Hawaiian theme. I think was one of the ones that was held, which obviously brought a bit of fun, and people engage in that, which is great. One of the other things we did regular as well was business briefings.
Okay.
So this was talking to all the staff, didn't matter what director it was, but being very honest and open about how the company was performing, but also about what we needed to do as a team. It wasn't just about the chief exec, myself, directors. It was everybody really about, look, how can you contribute to making this a better place to work? How can you contribute to making it a better company for delivering service to customers? Just that holistic approach really. So, and some of those questions that came back were, could be cutting, but and you have to take that. You have to, you have to take that conversation and you have to do something with it. And I'm a firm believer if people keep raising the same things, there's got to be an issue, hasn't there?
100%.
So I think we were very open the way people could approach us. That's not everyone's sort of cup of tea in terms of, I don't want everyone coming to the top man. Our chief exec was very open. People could approach him. It was the right way to go. If there's an issue, we need to know about it. So,
but I think cutting feedback is a gift, because if they've got the confidence to openly say that, they know that they're in a trusted and supported environment.
Absolutely.
I mean, closing off that chapter, when did you first stumble, dare I say, across Direct Works Forum?
Yeah, that's another good question actually. So Direct Works Forum, I stumbled across that about 1999 when our founder Keith Simpson launched it.
Yeah.
Now, I was working down in Somerset at the time, in Bath, and somebody mentioned Keith's name. And he said, you need to speak to this guy. So, as we did in the day, I wrote Keith a nice letter saying I'm sort of fresh in head of service. I'm trying to make my way in the world, going up through the ladder and promotions. And I wrote Keith a letter saying we were doing this. I hear you setting this forum up. And do you know what? It was the measure of Keith, and I think for those people that know Keith will understand this. He wrote an absolutely lovely letter back, and I didn't expect that, but he did. And it was about a page and a half about, congrats on your new job. Putting IT systems in is always going to be a difficult thing. Will we ever crack it? Love to see you at this new forum that I've read. This is what's happening. Be great if you could be part of that. So that was the introduction really to Direct Works Forum. And then from 1999, then I just sort of continued to go to these events. And really, there wasn't anything like that we'd had before. And Keith was visionary, wasn't he? As you know.
I've met him many a time. Great man.
Yeah, fantastic. He was a fantastic man, and he was also, I think, a mentor to me as well on lots of things. But he just had this vision that he wanted to bring people together, and he wanted people to network and really get the benefit of joined up thinking. And that was really for the enhancement of the sector and customers, really. Because Keith saw that the problems we were having, that people working in silos, we were all trying to reinvent the wheel, which doesn't help, does it? Because we've got so many variations on the theme. And so we came up with this idea of Direct Works Forum, and it just grew from there, to be honest with you. And I just continued over the years going as a member, so whatever organisation I was a member of.
And how many times would the Direct Works Forum meet up, say in the late 90s and the early 2000s?
So it'd probably meet up 4 times a year in person, and there would be about 8 presentations on the day, so it was full on. There was always people arrived in the evening because it was an opportunity to network. They would stay overnight, and then the next day would get stuck into these presentations. As I say, there were probably 20 minutes, and they were just rattled off. But I think what it did give us at the time was an opportunity to see what was out there in the sector, in the marketplace. Anything from a new system to, maybe a housing association telling us how they solved a problem, for argument's sake. So people getting real value of that. And I think as it grew, Keith got some really prominent people to come and present. And one of them, I remember, was Sir John Egan, who was obviously at the forefront of partnering from the 90s and then into 2000s. He was sat on our table, actually. It was funny because he was sat there and we had a bit of a chat. So you wouldn't normally get exposure to that, but Keith was able to bring people like that to the table and to present to us. And, I think it was the fact that he was able to do that really generated, the numbers that used to come along. It sort of rise and did a rise and fall over the years.
Yep. How many members at peak? How many members currently?
Probably at peak would have
24.
Yeah, so peak would have 2020, but peak would have been around 130. Would probably been around Grenfell time when we were doing lots and lots of sessions on obviously the outcomes of Grenfell and in terms of compliance, building safety, and probably now we're on around 60. We're down to about 60, which we don't think is a bad number to be at, given that people are looking at budgets, the amount of time people spend out the office, given the after effects of COVID and this work-life balance that people get. I think organisations are obviously being a little bit cuter about where they spend the money. But at the end of the day, we're happy with that. We've got a really good, solid foundation of members that support us at the events. And it's good to see, in effect, for me, being in 1999, it's good to see a new crop coming through now. And, a whole range of people that I probably don't know from the people that used to attend, so which is good. We're getting that sort of refresh approach to the Direct Works.
So obviously we've been talking about Direct Works Forum. Talk us about from going as a member who wrote a letter. I think some of our younger members who are going to be watching this, their first takeover will be people wrote letters to each other. Yes, they did, guys, believe it or not. But talk us through the evolution of Russell, the member, to Russell the chair of Direct Works Forum, because I find that really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've been around the sector a long time, and I think the addition to me joining Direct Works was that obviously you and I know that Keith Simpson was also part of Just Housing, which was a consultancy. So when I went into interim work, I also joined Keith at Just Housing. So I was doing interim work, so I obviously knew Keith on a number of different levels. So I think the move, to answer your question, the move from being a member came about over the years of joining the sessions with Direct Works. And then at a point about 6-7 years ago, they were looking for steering group members, and I thought, well, okay, maybe it's time for me to get a little bit more involved. So I stuck my hand up at a meeting and said, okay, I'll get involved. So I joined the steering group. The steering group basically used to meet before the actual forum seminar, and we just used to discuss business, planning the next seminar, and just about where we need to go next. And so though my attendance then was as a steering group member and then as a member at the event, so I was helping to promote the events and arrange the events and talk to speakers and the like. And then a real pertinent question got raised, because I think at the time Keith was about, I don't know, maybe 75, and Keith thinking, this is probably getting a bit too much now, and I need a succession plan, to retain his legacy. We've been going sort of 20 years. And basically we had a bit of a subgroup that started to think around, so how are we and who's going to meet this, who's going to meet the position of chair and the treasurer as well, because it was time for Rodney, who was our treasurer, to step down as well for similar age. And then we all got together really as a group of steering group members without Keith and Rodney to talk through about, what is our plan, where we're going to go, who we're going to appoint. I don't know if I felt hijacked, but I definitely felt a sense that everyone was looking at me without me knowing that everyone was going to be looking at me. So whether that was some kind of plan that they put in place, but I think it got the blessing of Keith, was saying that I think Russell would be a good successor for me. So yeah, it was a very quickly onto the steering group, very quickly to okay, all eyes on you. Would you be chair? And I said, yeah, I'd be delighted to be chair. And I feel like, and I've said this before in some of the interviews that I've done with other people and the podcast, that yeah, it's a heavy weight because Keith was such a charismatic guy. He's created a fantastic legacy that everybody knows about. He's joined up so many people, and I think you said when we met earlier on, it's a bit of a sleeping giant. I think it is. I think it's got lots and lots of potential. And yeah, I sort of took the role on with Keith's blessing, really. And I think unless he had said, yes, I would like you to do it, because I felt it's a big responsibility, then that's really how it was in a nutshell. It was very simple, but very much in the room and all eyes on me saying, we'd like you to be the chair. And yeah, I was flattered, obviously.
Yeah, it's always nice to be asked.
Absolutely. And it wasn't I was going to get involved at that level. I just wanted to put something back because I've had a lot from direct works and I've had a lot from the sector. So my thoughts were about I need to give something back, and that's what it was. Little did I know at the time it would evolve to where it is now. But it's all good. It's all good.
As we're sitting in a small little room at the 25th anniversary, so I've done recruitment within asset management for about 22 years, and I use that line sleeping giants because I go to plenty of events, and I've always seen Direct Works Forum from afar as a sleeping giant. So thank you for letting us sponsor and attend today. What's your vision in the next 3 years for this sleeping giant?
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. I think when we originally took over at Direct Works, myself and colleague Mike Wilson, he's the treasurer, and obviously Mike and I, with the support of the vice chair, Joe Whittle, we sort of run Direct Works, and it's something we do voluntary in effect, and we do this in our spare time because we've got our day jobs to do. But the vision really is about providing not just a membership organisation that we do already, but it's about growing something on top of that around what other services can we provide to the sector. How else can we help members in terms of, I think, picked up on Keith's vision really about, getting consistency, efficiency, value for money, all those things around supporting the sector to get that sort of one way of doing things, but do it in the right way, I guess, at the end of the day. And we've seen so many times where, people have, and it's fine to fail because you learn from failure, don't you? But absolutely. I think it's about supporting the sector to try and get it right. I think we've always said that. But it is around developing as a business. Direct Works is a membership organisation. It's not for profit, so there's no money there to be made. It supports its members, but we feel we need to do more. We need to do more than just turning up to a seminar. We want to do more. We want to provide a service. We want to provide some revenue that then we can support doing more for members, because the membership doesn't always quite cover what we need to do. So it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. We can support members, but we can support the wider sector. So we're launching things like direct consult. So we want to use our experience to provide the support to the sector. And yes, we get paid for it because that's the point of being in business, but we're also contributing back to the Direct Works group that will support other things as well. So it'll be seed money to start things like maybe direct compliance or direct assets that we're launching now. So we've got this view is that we want to build on the different disciplines within repairs and maintenance and asset management. Things like Direct Works is for DLOs, direct asset, obviously, direct compliance. So we want to try and support the wider community as part of that. We see there's intrinsic links between asset, repairs, compliance, building safety. Of course there is. They're all intertwined. But actually we've only looked at DLOs, we've only looked at repairs and maintenance bit. So now we're starting to take that broader view, take that a more holistic approach. We want to provide more sort of commercial service as well, whether that is in terms of procurement. So we want to try and offer that procurement piece as well. And then what we've also done is we've attracted affiliates. So we're working as part of a membership that our affiliates come and join as a member. But what they're bringing is, it could be anything from an IT software to could be things like builders merchants. What they're actually doing is helping us to widen our reach as well, because we've been very defined in our approach through Direct Works, DLOs. Yeah. We think we're more than that. And as a consequence, we're helping to work with our affiliates to actually broaden that horizon as well. They've got specific skills that we haven't got, so why would we not partner in them? And the discussions you and I have had around how could you widen your reach? Well, you can't do it all on your own, and we're wise to that. We can't do it on our own, and we're only a small fish in a big pond, but we'll only get bigger, wiser, and stronger the fact if we partner and collaborate with others. And that's really what our approach is and what our vision is. Very, very slowly build it up. Yeah. But get a wider reach by actually working with people, partnering, collaborating, and I think being hopefully a one-stop shop that people want to be involved with, whether that's providing membership in terms of networking from a DLO point of view to asset management, to would you come and have a look at our repairs and maintenance? Would you provide us with some expertise around what's your view, what's best in practice? And I think we've built up enough experience with our steering group and people like myself and others that are connected within the sector. I think we're probably, and again, not trying to blow around trumpets, but I think we're well respected. People understand our track record and the people that we've worked with in the past. And I think they want to engage with that. And we're finding that people want to engage. They want to talk about how we can help each other. They want to talk about how they can buy our services. It makes absolute sense to create this family of services and membership groups where we can support the sector, because that's really what we're about. You know, we know this. Sorry, I'm going on, but the sector is getting to better heights in terms of salaries.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not all about the money. I'll say that. I'll be honest with you. This is about giving something back. There's nothing worse than seeing things put in place and then them fall into one side when all the work and effort has gone in. So I think for us, it's also about building the right foundations, you know, within the sector as well, and maintaining those. Really, we want what's best for the sector as well as earning a living, because that's what we're all here to do. But there is a double edge to that. It is about earning a living, but it's also about promoting the sector. It's a fantastic sector, but it's also supporting it to be better and helping itself be better as well.
I mean, 60 is a club, and it's a really good club. And your pricing point, which I won't be mentioning, is unbelievable good value for money. But there's plenty of repairs managers who are probably watching this, or, you know, a rising star within compliance, and he or she has got 6 or 7 different events, 6 or 7 different places they could go and spend their time, because time is so precious these days. What's the one value proposition with your background, Russell, that you could tell us about why those people who are the rising stars or the experienced asset directors, why should they come and join and be part of this brilliant club?
Yeah, great question, actually. I think 2 things for me. Don't put yourself in a vacuum. And I think too many people put themselves in a vacuum where they can't get out and see what other people are doing. And I think the benefit of Direct Works and what we do is about networking and meeting people that can give you a far wider perspective of what's happening in the sector. And I think in terms of that, about their experiences as well. I meet lots of people say to me, why do I know so many people? Well, I know so many people because I've been to lots of events and I've networked, and I've directed my thoughts around who I want to go and speak to, what do I want to go and see. And I did that because Direct Works allowed me to do that. I've gone to don't get me wrong, I've gone to other seminars, gone to other conferences, you know, but Direct Works has been a consistent for me, or a constant, and it's been consistent around the people that have been there. So you can continue that network. It's not like it's going to disappear. You meet people at a conference, you might not meet again. At Direct Works, those same people have been there for a long while. Yes, we've had a new people coming in, but 2 things, Jed. If you're a young manager coming through, don't put yourself in a vacuum. Get yourself out there. As one chief exec said to me, if it ain't broke, well, go break it, because that's the way you learn. And I really love that. And I was only a young head of service at the time, but I love that he allowed me to go and experiment with things. And I think that if you really go and experiment, either try before you buy, then you need to get yourself out of that vacuum and see what other people are doing.
Absolutely. And in terms of current members, what's the key thing that you're proudest of, where someone's been to an event in the last 2 or 3 years and taken a specific takeaway from it, and then called you or emailed you now, not sent you a letter, to go, Russell, it's because of this steering group, I've met someone within our peer group, or I've had this specific takeaway from one of your speakers. What's the one that kind of stands out to go, you know what, the Direct Work Forum has helped facilitate that person learning that?
Yeah, another good question. I think I'll go to something probably about a year ago, actually, which probably resonates with me most. And we do encourage our members to come and present what they've done, you know, showcase what you've done, because there's some really...
Absolutely.
And a housing association called Believe, that are in the Northeast again. And the connection really was my brother was also a consultant in the same area, and he'd been working with that organisation. And I asked him to come along and bring the team and let them present, you know, the things that they've been doing, basically. And what really came across, because lots of people in the room were resonating with colleagues from Believe. And I think that was the real big takeaway around, actually, you know, challenge what you know already, think about what you do need to spend money on, and think about that wisely. I think that's what came across loud and clear. but also about challenging that norm as well, and to constantly challenge as a team and to work as a team in terms of taking those things forward. But I think what came out of that was the amount of times that, in fact, it was my brother that said that the amount of people that had contacted him and said, hang on a minute, we loved what you did at Direct Work. Can we talk to you about doing the same? No, I think you can't get any better praise than that. You can't get any sort of better recommendation. And that wasn't just one or two people. That was probably 3 or 4 or 5. Now, to me personally, people were either mentioned in conversation, a few dropped an email, said, we really like what they're doing. Could you put us in contact with them? But that, obviously, because they were our members talking about the stuff that they were doing on a day-to-day basis, it just resonated across the room. And they were able then to talk and network during the day. Say, look, this is how we did it. This is why we did it. And this was some of the things we had to put in place to do that. So I think that really got to me, because I think the thing that gets to me is that when you're organising these sort of seminars and you're getting all these speakers together, it is one of those moments you think, I really hope this all hangs together and we've got a theme, and people don't see all that sort of nervousness in the background, but that's what it is. You're really hoping that the points they want to make will resonate. People see relevance in them, because you want people to go away think, I've had a really good day. I've got value in the membership, because that's important to us. And I think on that day, that one probably presentation alone, that was supported by others, obviously, but that one alone, I think really, really hit home to people. And I think that's one of the things I remember the last couple of years.
I mean, that's the best compliment. When someone's doing a talk and other people are reaching out to them, that's a true vindication that it was a good talk. You haven't mentioned, well, I haven't asked. Talk us through all the courses and the affiliated courses that Direct Work forums do for their members, because you kind of mentioned that as a throwaway comment before we came on air, and I thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah, I think because we have quite a diverse number of speakers and we cover quite a few topics. What we want to do was get at least be accredited for those topics. So we've actually now registered with CPD. So all our events are now CPD accredited. So people are then, particularly those in professional institutions, they're able to then have these courses accredited, which is useful for them because they can build up the points. It's interesting because I'm a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Building, and I recently got audited about my CPD. And I was fortunate because I do my CPD, but actually the fact that coming to Direct Work supports that CPD journey. And I think this is just a way of actually extending the membership, or the value of the membership, that actually coming to the seminars and, whether you're listening, whether you're joining in, because we don't just do somebody presenting and talking back, we also do workshops.
Okay.
We've done some workshops on apprentices, damp and mould, the new TSMs that have come into play. So we've also mixed and matched our approach, and I think what we've offered is a bit of variation. As a consequence, that we wanted to accredit people with the ability then from whether a workshop, a seminar, a presentation, if they've been involved in it, for argument's sake, if they're actually doing something presented. We just wanted to recognise that to give people a bit of a bit more value out of the membership.
Brilliant. And obviously you've got some brilliant speakers speaking at your event tomorrow. Which one, because obviously they're all being recorded, which one are you most looking forward to hearing?
Yeah, I think I won't want to single one out, but I think it's always interesting to have the regulator in the room. I think that'll be really, really useful, I think, just to get the regulator's view. So I'm really looking forward to that. But I'm looking forward to all of them, really, because it's all, again, as I said earlier on, it's always interesting thinking, what's going to happen on the day and how's it all going to flow, and generally it all does flow really, really well. I think they will complement each other. So I'm looking forward to how they're going to complement and just see the overall value that we're going to get from all of them. Because what we've got is a couple of supplies in there that is all about customer. It's all about customer experience, segmentation, and then we've got the regulator to give us that sort of broader, holistic view. And then we've got TPAS, obviously, which is the organisation for customers or tenants.
Yeah.
So we're going to get a real broad range of views, but all concentrating on that customer theme, really. So it'd be good to see that sort of golden thread as it comes through all of them. That's the bit I'm looking for, how all that links in.
Yeah.
And people will be able to take away all the key messages that will come from those presentations.
There'll always be one person who's got a major hangover who doesn't turn up.
Well, we get one or two like that, yeah. Generally, they're pretty good. They do turn up, but they are a bit worse for wear.
I can relate to that.
It's par for the course, People get away from the office.
And on your website, you've obviously got all of the members, and those who, we'll put a link onto to your website within the podcast. What kind of level of leadership joins from those associations, if people are looking at the website today and going, oh, I know someone who works for that association, I know someone who works for that local authority, what kind of responsibility level and job role are members of the direct workforce?
Again, it's varied actually. We've got chief operating officers, we've got operational heads of operational heads, we've got some supervisors come along, manager level, we've got director level. It's a broad range, if I'm being honest with you, but I would say it's predominantly middle management, operational, with some director. That's where I'd say predominantly our members are from, engaging with direct works, not just around probably more the granular, but also trying to get that heads up around thinking more about strategy. So networking, talking to people around, how are you doing this? How are you doing that? How are you managing the board? How are you managing the exec? But I would say it's predominantly middle management that get attracted, which has changed over the years, to be honest with you, because I think I said earlier on that we used to have a lot of directors of property that would come to direct works, and that was an opportunity for people like me in my younger days with learning from these people. What are you doing? How are you doing it? And maybe bugging them for a few hours, talking about stuff. But that's the way you learn, isn't it? Talking and networking with people and tapping into their experience and knowledge. So we'd like to encourage more of that, but we do understand. I think there's a far wider and strategic debate for exec directors to come along to this event, and we understand that. So it's something that's on our minds around how we take that forward. Do we do some roundtable events? Do we get some exec directors, talking around, relevant subjects, and get more of that broader view in terms of maybe doing a white paper or something like that around whether it's repairs and maintenance, asset management, whatever that may be. So it's something in the offering that we'd want to talk about at a later date, I think.
And in terms of stock levels, because obviously all the associations, be it 30,000 plus to the TMOs, have different challenges, and some challenges, obviously, there's always a golden thread within the industry. Is there a specific sweet spot of housing stock that are direct works for members at all, or is it quite dispersed from the TMOs?
It varies quite a bit, actually. You're right. Yeah, it can be anything from 5,000 to, I think, people coming somewhere around 70, 80,000 on social housing. So it can vary significantly. But we've actually we carried out a survey not long back. Actually, we were surprised of how low the numbers go to how high they go.
Okay.
So it is. I would say it's evenly dispersed around the number in terms of stock. But what I guess is consistent about all that is the fact they've all got DLOs.
Yes.
And the thing is, everything that everyone's going through is the same as whether you're doing 5,000 units, whether you're doing 100,000 units. They're the same issues around getting work done on time, resources, cost of materials, recruitment, which obviously resonate with yourself, and meeting KPIs and all those things, and budget, the whole thing. They're the same wherever you go. It's just scale and size that's different, that's all. The problems are still the same. It's just the size of the problems and the scale of them that you're trying to deal with.
So, Russell, my final question is, obviously, we all read our specialist publications, and there seems to be, within the private sector, with R&M contractors, gas contractors, a lot of mergers and acquisitions, almost seeing the super R&M contractors obviously positioning themselves to service all the different housing associations and local authorities. And that potentially may dwindle the regional R&M contractors who are family run, first or second generation. Obviously, you've worked in the industry a long time. I mean, what's your thought process of all of the mergers and acquisitions across the space? How do you think that's going to evolve in terms of service delivery, pros and cons, in your opinion, in the next 3 years?
Yeah, it's an interesting move, isn't it? I think it's inevitable, to be fair, and I don't think it's the first time we've seen this. I think we've seen it in the past. I think it probably mirrors what the economy is doing as well, I think, and in terms of gathering strength in numbers. I think so. We've seen that before, and I think we'll see that again. I think the fact there is a lot of work out there, people think that's a really good thing, but I think it's also challenging from a delivery point of view. So I can understand where organisations want to grow their family of businesses and improve their resource base as well. I totally understand that, and the reason I say that is because I sit as a non-exec on a procurement consultancy as well.
Okay.
So we get a little bit of first-hand knowledge around what's happening really, And what you're seeing is there isn't a whole raft of people out there to do the work. That sort of I guess cast of contractors, whether it's local, whether it's regional, whether it's national. It's not growing. It's probably it's pretty stagnant. And the fact that one of the reasons we're probably seeing some more of these mergers happening is to provide, I think, more capacity for those larger organisations to be able to take those additional contracts on. I think, is that a good or a bad thing? Well, I think for the sector we need stability, so there is some positive on the back of that. I think it's then it depends on how organisations want to procure that work. So if they want more of a local feel, then it's possible that they would want to attract more of a, like you say, first, second generation sort of local company. And for a lot of people, they've done the total opposite, haven't they? We've seen a trend of people insourcing the work for themselves and running DLOs, which is something I'm an advocate for obvious. But I think it's about cutting your cloth to suit. It's about not one size fits all. There is a place within the sector for all those different models. So I think from my perspective, it's horses for courses. And in some occasions, you do need a contractor that's got a lot of armoury, if you like, and been able to offer that sort of holistic approach. So I think there is a place and a time for those organisations. So I think some of that is positive. Probably, employees of some of those small organisations being absorbed is probably a good thing as well. It's continuity of work, and providing more of an opportunity to stay in work, I guess, with an organisation rather than actually go through this, I guess, constant competitive situation where you're on the wrong end of the contract award. So I think it's just inevitable. It's not the first time we've seen it. As you say, I've been around the sector a long while. I've been around construction for a long while. These sort of peaks and troughs happen, don't they? What I do know is that I think it's harder in terms of trying to recruit people from a trade perspective, even from a technical point of view as well. With the number of people leaving the industry, 750,000 over the next 10 to 15 years. Apprentices aren't coming through at the rate we thought they would come through at. COVID's impact, was it 600,000 over 50s have left the workforce?
There's scary like that.
There's some real scary numbers here, and I think the reality is that if we're going to continue, or contractors, DLOs or local and regional contractors are going to deliver work, then we need to either collaborate, join forces. So I fully understand why that's happening. It makes sense from an economical point of view that people would bring other organisations together, or you would buy an organisation out, or you would you'd make that acquisition. I totally understand it. The fact you're able to offer, I guess, more of a holistic approach for managing the work that we've got to deliver, and I think we'll find that over the years that actually some organisations won't be able to get that work delivered. So I think it's an advantage in one respect. I know possibly the organisations that are involved, and maybe some of those small organisations won't necessarily see that straight away, but you can understand why actually making that acquisition makes absolute sense in terms of being able to, one, I think, meet the market in terms of the amount of investment work or repairs and maintenance needs doing. It's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, I guess. So, organisations arming up to be able to, to be bidding for this work and ultimately better deliver it, because that's the important thing. Once you're committed, you've got to deliver, haven't you?
Absolutely.
So I think, there are occasions we've got big organisations within the sector that need a bigger model, and that actually doing it in-house may not be the answer. And for others, doing it in-house is the answer. And so there is that mixed economy, which I think has worked probably for a long time within the sector and will continue to work for obvious reasons.
So, well, listen, last question, and I'm sure you'll say yes to this. Anyone who's watching this who's been really intrigued around Direct Works Forum, obviously you're on LinkedIn. Are they all okay to drop you a line on LinkedIn, get some more information about the membership so they can then deal with your marketing team?
Absolutely. Yeah, we would welcome anybody coming on board. Absolutely. If you get anybody out there that sees this and thinks, I'd like to be involved in something like that, well, come along, get involved. As we sort of diversify what we're doing, we don't want to be the people that are constantly at the head of Direct Works and Direct Assets. We want to bring other people in. So if people want to come and get involved, want to see what we're about, come along for a day, come and see what it's all about. And if you can get some value, great, come and join us.
Fantastic. And can we get you on again in, say, 12 months' time, so we can see what you've been doing. There's some really exciting things that you've been speaking about over the last half an hour. Get you to talk about the summary of the last 12 months and seeing what you guys have done and achieved and then add value.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd welcome that. Absolutely welcome it.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. Really nice to meet you.
Thanks, Dal. Thanks ever so much. Thank you. Cheers.